Hello everyone, I'm Mark Astor. I'm a partner here at Astor Simovich Law, and I'm here to educate you. And today what we're going to talk about is how important it is to know your county. What do I mean by that? Well, what I'm really talking about is the fact that depending on which county you're filing a particular case in may affect the way the case is handled. In law school, and I'm going back a few years, so I apologize if I'm aging myself, but when I first went to law school in 1991, one of the first things they taught us is how important it is to know your judge. So obviously, if you're in a particular county, it's important to know how would a particular judge rule on a particular issue. And one of the things that I think makes our system so beautiful is the fact that you cannot take sort of the human element out of it, right? I think if you do, then we've lost the system. But there's obviously a subjective nature. When a judge issues a ruling on a specific issue, one judge might rule one way and another judge might rule another way, which is why in our appellate courts, right, we have multiple judges or multiple justices, not just one person. If you've ever watched the news and they start talking about, the United States Supreme Court justices, you'll understand why it's so important, who does the president nominate and who gets approved to be on the bench, because again, you can't take the human element out of the court. Now, obviously, knowing your judge, depending on the county you're in, is important. But just as important, if not more important, is understanding which county that you're in. Because in each county, when it comes to the behavioral health issues, they tend to handle the cases differently. Now, there were some significant changes made to the Marchman Act in 2024. And that resulted in us having to really modify not just the way we handle and file these cases, but actually the content of the pleadings, what we actually would write. But there are some counties that appear to be still proceeding under the old statute. Now, one of the things that the new statute provides for is the idea of an emergency filing. I mean, we could file as an emergency under the old statute, but the new one specifically says if there's an emergency, and it makes it very clear. Now, obviously, if the court decides that this is an emergency, it's going to issue an order. It's going to issue an order without any kind of hearing, and the order will, probably, tell law enforcement, the police, to go and get this person and take them to a specific receiving facility, or serve this person and tell them they cannot leave the specific receiving facility where they are currently located at. Now, typically what would happen is if the court decided that it was not an emergency, it would then set a hearing so that we could present evidence. But there are some counties where if it's not an emergency, they're just flat out denying it. They're saying, you're not getting a hearing, it's denied. Case is over, okay? And that can be frustrating. Obviously, not just for us, but for our clients too. There are other counties where if we have somebody in treatment and they leave treatment, some counties say, well, now, Mr. Astor, you and your team, you need to file a motion, and then you need to serve the person, and you need to bring them back before the court. There are other counties, if you leave treatment, the judge doesn't want a hearing. He's automatically, or she's automatically going to issue a pickup order, a bit like a bench warrant, but in a civil proceeding. So it's really important that if you're going to work with a law firm who's going to handle a behavioral health issue for you, that they are practiced in as much of Florida as possible. Now, in our particular case, we have filed hundreds of cases. I think on the Baker Act side, I think we've probably filed close to 700 cases over the years, and they're filed all over the state. The Marchman Act, again, several hundred of these cases, guardianship the same, and we filed them all over the state. And, look, if you call us and you say, I'm in XYZ county, my team's going to say, we haven't had much luck in that county filing a Marchman Act. You should probably think about filing for guardianship. And that really only comes from experience. But at the end of the day, knowing the county, understanding how they operate is key and critical to getting a successful outcome. Because these cases can be difficult to prove. There's lots of procedural steps. In Marchman, you've got assessment and treatment. So again, understanding this, guardianship has a petition for guardianship, a petition for incapacity, petition for emergency temporary guardianship. And again, the courts in different counties just view these things in a different way. I remember once, many years ago, filing a Marchman Act in a particular county, and the clerk of court, the deputy clerk, called me and she said to me, Mr. Astor, we've never had an attorney file one of these before. And I said, well, then how do you grant them? She said, well, typically we don't. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, people come in, they file their own cases, we look at them, the judge reviews them, they get denied. And I'm like, well, this is why they're getting denied, because they're not being filed correctly. And so this is really important stuff, because by the time folks get to us, we're dealing with a serious issue, and we want to make sure we get it right for you. And if we can't get it right, you know, there's always a plan B and a plan C. How do we figure this out? And that comes just from years and years of practicing. So I wanted to share that with you. This stuff's important. This is all that we do. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, post them. I review every comment. And if I can, I'll normally respond to you, if not the same day, within 24 hours. And with that said, I hope you got something out of this video. I would love a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.